You ruined everything. I was at the top of my field, but journalist, controversialist, but talent was real. Then I found my opportunity, the sun eater squealed. So I wrote a story about it with this person revealed. But you had to show up, made me look stupid, had my life blow up, all because of you, kid. You caught the real perp, I was discredited. I lost my job, my wife, and my relatives. Now all I have is revenge and anger. Hate in my heart rank with the weight of an anchor. I just want the Spider-Man to feel a pain greater, but I'm just a man. Maybe if I say a prayer, then he will listen. But I got to the church and was met with another higher power at work. Pitch black dark, but I felt the light. It said,
listen to us, we can help you fight. Let us take you, expand your mind. We are Venom, together now, paths align. The world is mine, and it can be yours in time. And we're climbing to the top when our worlds combine. We are Venom, here to expand your mind. We are Venom, together now, paths align. We are Venom, I'm telling you the world is mine. And we're climbing to the top when our worlds combine. Listen here, Brock, take notes from a symbiote. Spider-Man, you're gonna need more than a frilly coat. Wear me, I can guarantee killing both Spider-Man and friendly neighborhood silly hope. I was outcast, Spider-Man left me, but he led me to you. Found me directly, he didn't get me, but I can tell that you're deadly. And together we can make him wish that he kept me. You and I, Brock, we can get vengeance. I know you have anger, now you need presence. I'm the executioner that carries out the sentence, and you can be my vessel while I wrestle in the bitter end. We are us and you are now we, and you found me. You're weak without me, but you're now free to move, get rowdy. The truth would now be what we allow, please. Let us take you, expand your mind. We are Venom, together now, paths align. The world is mine, and it can be yours in time. And we're climbing to the top when our worlds combine. We are Venom, here to expand your mind. We are Venom, together now, paths align. We are Venom, I'm telling you the world is mine. And we're climbing to the top when our worlds combine. Let us take you, expand your mind. We are Venom, together now, paths align. The world is mine, and it can be yours in time. And we're climbing to the top when our worlds combine. We are Venom, here to expand your mind. We are Venom, together now, paths align. We are Venom, I'm telling you the world is mine. And we're climbing to the top when our worlds combine.
Hey friends, Jordan Woods Robinson here from AMC's The Walking Dead and Blue Man Group, and this is PopXcast, where science fiction meets pop culture. We're a geek podcast for geek culture, so are you ready to get your geek on? Sit back, relax, grab some gluten-free, non-GMO popcorn, and let's dive into the world pop culture bliss.
I'm Chris from All Things Good and Nerdy, a proud member of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're listening to right now. The opinions expressed are those of the individual hosts. Make sure you check out all the other great podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready, because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
You are listening to PopXcast, where science fiction meets pop culture.
Captain's Log Supplemental.
PopXcast.
Hasta la vista, baby. Excelsior!
All right, and welcome everyone. This is PopXcast, where science fiction meets pop culture. Joining us here, we have Team PopX. The valiant team has assembled, ladies and gentlemen. Austin Burke, you're back, bro. How you doing, buddy?
It's been so long. It feels like it's been months since I've been on the show. I've missed
It's been far too long.
You, I've missed everyone else, and I think we have a good reason to come back and do this show, Joe, because Venom.
Yeah,
we have a lot to talk.
We
about.
have a lot of great stuff actually. So don't think we're going to like bash it like we did Solo. Anyway. So yeah, man, I've missed our long walks on the beach, our moments of just kind of maybe just kind of spooning on the couch after a scary flick. I don't know. I mean. You like it. I get those moments, didn't you? We got some awesome people hanging out with us in the chat room. We got Sean is hanging out with us right now. This is so cool to have her hanging with us and just chilling and doing all that cool stuff that she does. So thank you, Sean, for hanging here on PopXcast, where science fiction meets pop culture. And we also have Jason Bryant here joining us as well. So that's pretty cool. I'm done.
Cool.
Yeah. So we got Jason. Jason's a longtime friend of mine from Blab. So yeah, just in case you might remember that little platform back in the day. There was a platform called Blab back in the day. So all right, so here we go, guys. We're going to kick this thing off. You ready, Austin Burke?
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay, let's do this. All right, so hey guys, welcome to PopXcast, where science fiction meets pop culture. I'm your host, Joseph Burke, Central Florida's seasoned comic book nerd and retro enthusiast. Embrace it. Own it. Be it. All right, you know what I'm saying? So we'd like to welcome everyone joining us right here in the live chat room over on popx.live. And also, I want to thank you guys for joining us in the conversation here on the PopX Facebook chat room. You guys are awesome. Please like and share this out as much as you can.
And I am Austin Burke, returning the Appalachian Geek at heart. Be sure to head over to Google Play and or iTunes after the show. Hit that subscribe button because that is very important. Catch up on some amazing shows from the PopX archive. And while you're there, we would certainly appreciate you guys showing us some love by leaving that 5-star rating and review. And if you guys missed episode 83, Netflix, Marvel Rewind, and DC Universe Online, I watched the show. I wasn't a part of it. It was fantastic. Go check that out and check out our official website at popxcast.com for this and other great past shows from our collective archive of geek goodness. Joe?
Dude, you're way too kind. You're too kind.
It was nice. I liked it a lot.
It was just me babbling a lot. It was just me talking about a lot of Netflix shows, and I don't think it was as glamorous as you say
I could
it was.
listen to that all day.
Oh,
There,
stop
Dave, my
it. You
sweet ear
stop it, dear
with
Lord.
your voice.
I do declare there are a time in a man's life when one said conversation kind of makes one ball just a little bit. No, I'm just messing. Oh, I have no idea where I went just then, so you're welcome for that. That's live on radio. All right, so we're going to get some news kicked off here. Don't go nowhere. We got some crazy comic pop nerd news coming your way.
Extra, read all about it.
Nice.
This is PopX News.
Nice.
Coming to you live.
Isn't that Chris?
On that's PopXcast.com.
That's Chris, ain't it? Yeah, Mike, you're hilarious, dude. He never ceases to amaze me. So we have some pretty sad stuff coming right off the top of the show, and I hate to bring this to you all, but I do have to say we had a couple of iconic passings this week, and the first one is actually, as a matter of fact, The Walking Dead is airing the season premiere. I said it was last week, but I got my weeks mixed up. It is tonight. And as we're recording this, it's going on. But The Walking Dead star, Mr. Scott Wilson, has passed away at the age of 76. Now, Wilson was confirmed to be returning on The Walking Dead during the New York Comic-Con panel. It's kind of a flashback scene. And that was held at Madison Square Garden. Now, the details of the actor's passing has not yet been revealed. The actor had been active on the Comic-Con circuit around the country throughout the past several years, and having retired from the role of Herschel Green on AMC's popular zombie show, The Walking Dead, in its 4th season. So I never got a chance to meet Scott Wilson at the cons. He was here in Orlando several times, and kind of wish now I would have. Just a great. And I don't know if you guys knew this, but he is credited to over 50 film credits in his repertoire of all the stuff he's done in his lifetime, and not including a lot of his theatrical performances as well. We're just talking cinematic film credits. Wow. So what do you think about that? Do you think they had plans to include him in season 9 as a maybe a flashback scene with Maggie? What do you think about this news coming up?
Well, it's a sad thing all around. I mean, when you have somebody who's contributed, and whether people knew it or not, so much to not just Hollywood but the industry in general, it's a sad thing. And it's a sad thing to think about the fact that he's not going to have the opportunity to do more things. Even if you're talking about a flashback scene, I loved when I was into The Walking Dead and really watching it, paying attention, I loved everything about his character and what he brought to him. And that's really what I know him for mostly. Yeah. But he's still absolutely going to be missed, and it's a really a sad thing.
Yeah, and it's his character, obviously, a spoiler alert if you're not aware, we're 5 seasons ahead of where Herschel passed away, but it's definitely going to leave a kind of a ripple effect. I do believe this is one of the first major actors from the series to pass away in reality, so and just one thing I do like about Herschel's character that I never had seen anywhere else on The Walking Dead, Herschel was a Christian. And Herschel would always go around with his Bible and kind of bring out, he would give these psalm-type scenarios, it's like, well, what does a good book say about that, and I just kind of like that take on it. He was just a gentle, kind soul. And from what I've heard and from what I've read, even like Norman Reedus and Andrew Lincoln has even said that he was like that in real life, too. He was just a gentle soul. So, moving on.
Well, we go from bad to more bad, and Academy Award-winning claymation animator Will Vinton has passed away, according to a social media post by his children. Vinton is known for animating series like The PJs, though he might be best known for creating beloved 80s mascots like the California Raisins and Domino's Pizza's The Noid. He is the subject of the upcoming documentary Welcome to My Daydream. That's a very cool title, by the way, which was funded through a Kickstarter campaign that wrapped up last year. The movie has not yet been released. And Joe, this
hits home for me, man. This hits home for me because I was all right. So you're in the middle of the 80s, right? You're in 1986, 87, and what comes on Christmas was this. It was the claymation Christmas. It was advertised, and there was even a cameo. Michael Jackson was done as a claymation figure. And I just remember, it was so awesome. And the music video with Michael Jackson where he's dangerous and he's got the rabbit that spins around. That's Will Vinton.
Oh wow! I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he's actually in the picture over on the right. You could see the little the bunny behind the raisins. But so the California Raisins was kind of a big deal for me as a kid growing up. I like to collect the little miniatures, and I would heard it through the grapevine and going through the house, doing my little dun 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 dun. So, but Will Vinton, man, he breathed life into a lot of my childhood. Even the Domino's Noid was just a huge part, and then the Twizzlers lips, he did that as well with Tang and Twizzler. Cool. So it was just really awesome what he did, and he was just kind of an iconic revolutionary. And I believe his art form is a dying art form. I don't think there's a lot of claymation artists out there that's in the mainstream today like Will Vinton was. So a little part of my childhood, a little piece of my soul, just kind of, So.
Yeah, it's a sad thing. You look at something like Leica Animation, and they're still doing claymation, but not drawing in the biggest box office ever. It is sadly a dying art form, but it's an art form that I think the people that are still keeping it alive and trying to bring life into it, I think it's important. I think it's important to keep that kind of heart and passion that people put into this, because if you look at like the behind the scenes of something like this,
it's crazy.
And I know you've seen it.
Oh, I have too. Yeah.
Insane. So it's a sad day for claymation. Absolutely.
Yeah. Alrighty, so we're gonna try to upswing this conversation a little bit. We have to recover. We have to get the sad stuff out. And a part of me, have you ever heard the curse of the threes? Like it always happens in threes. I'm hoping. Oh man, this is two within one 24-hour period. So I'm just like, I don't think I can handle it. Anyway, moving along. We're going to try to swing this up. All right, so after 2 seasons of fighting Kingpin, The Hand, and Frank Castle, Netflix's Marvel's Daredevil is finally getting the showdown we've all been waiting for. Bullseye has officially been confirmed for Daredevil Season 3. Now, throughout the production and casting of the new season, many fans speculated that Bullseye would appear in some form or fashion. Now, when the casting of the actor Wilson Bethel was announced, folks immediately believed that he was going to be the notorious villain. As it turns out, all the fans' theories were actually right. The addition of Bullseye was made official when Netflix released the full trailer for the new season this past Thursday. Now, the 3rd season of Daredevil will be released on Netflix in just 2 weeks. Well, actually, about a week and a half on October the 19th. Are you excited for? Have you been keeping up with those?
Well, so I'm still behind on the actual series that aren't Daredevil or Punisher.
Right.
I need to watch season 2 of Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Iron Fist, and then I'm really behind.
Okay.
But Daredevil is my favorite show, and it and Punisher, those two I think stand above the rest. I mean, not like crazy amounts, but I do think they're the most well done. Why has it been so long? It's been, I think, 2.5 years since the last season of Daredevil. What do you do?
Yeah,
Push
I know.
this thing out,
Well,
man.
you got to remember though, he was in the Defenders.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, Charlie Cox was in the Defenders.
Yeah, it was some. That was a thing. But
now
that was
I gotta ask you a question. Being the film student and cinematographer appreciation artist that you are, that appreciate the shot and the setup of the shot, how is Daredevil in that? Is that firing on all cylinders for you? Just how this thing is shot?
It is. And you look at, I think the 2 scenes that come to mind when you think of how well this thing's shot are the scene in season 1 where he's fighting in the hallway. That one take, I think, is
one take, yeah.
Masterwork. And then in season 2, I think there's 2 scenes. The one with the Punisher fighting in the jail cell. I believe that was one take. And then you have the other hallway where he's going down the staircase fight scene. I think Daredevil is just, I think they've kind of found their groove with the show. Something that I think might be lacking with a few of the other shows that I have watched. I haven't watched the new seasons yet, but it flows so well for me. And the filmmaking is really something that I look at, especially for the budget that Daredevil had for season 1. You look at that, and it's the first thing that they did, but it's so well produced, and it makes me happy every time I go back and rewatch episodes. So yeah, that has me really excited for a new season.
I'm pretty excited myself. So I actually just got caught up, so I'm done with Luke Cage and Iron Fist season 2. So
very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that gives us something to look forward to. So moving on, IDW Publishing is celebrating its 20th anniversary with IDW 2020, a weekly event featuring some of the biggest fandoms in popular culture beginning in January 2019. The IDW 2020 event includes Ghostbusters, Jim and the Holograms, My Little Pony, Star Trek, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, with each issue being set 20 years into the property's future or past. This is cool. An anniversary like this one IDW is celebrating is a cause to look to the future and the past, says IDW editor-in-chief John Barber in a statement. It gives us a moment to reflect on where we came from and where we're going, because both directions are pretty exciting. We're lucky to have partners like Hasbro and Nickelodeon and CBS, Consumer Products, and Sony to share in the celebration, and to have these 5 sets of characters that have helped place IDW at the center of the pop culture universe. Joe, this is actually a really cool concept, and just from thinking about where they can go with this, are you excited?
I am actually. The 2 that I'll definitely be picking up is the Ghostbusters and the Star Trek. It's definitely interested to see how they're going to be going 20 years into the future or into the past. And, I'm judging by the cover art and the preview art that I've seen for Ghostbusters, that's going to be a 20-year leap into the future.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see how, the lead players, like, how did Egon, where is he at? What's he doing today? And you got all these guys. And so, yes, I am excited. I'm going to read the first couple of issues of both. I don't think I'll pick up Jim or My Little Pony, or maybe not even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But I am definitely interested in seeing a Star Trek comic book. What?
Yes.
So, I'm pretty excited for that. So,
yeah, really exciting.
All right, so moving along here. New details for the live-action Star Wars series has just been revealed by Jon Favreau himself. Now, confirming rumors that have been circulating over the last couple of months, the series will be called The Mandalorian. Ooh, I like that name. I like that name. Focusing on the lone gunfighter in an era after the events of Star Wars: The Return of the Jedi. Now, after the stories of Jango and Boba Fett, now that's another warrior emerges into the Star Wars universe, The Mandalorian is set after the fall of the Empire and before the emergence of the First Order. So it's in between the two series. We follow the travails of a lone gunfighter in the outer reaches of the galaxy, far from the authority of the New Republic. Now, the post reads, there's no words yet on when the series is supposed to premiere, but it will be an exclusive to Disney's upcoming streaming platform. I was just about to say, is this going to be on Disney's streaming platform? Of course, there are rumors that production will begin in the coming weeks, but there has been already many casting announcements made. If all goes well, it could begin streaming on Disney platforms sometime in 2019. So, let's stop a minute and talk about this. Now, this service, this Disney service, we saw last week what DC is doing, right? We saw how they're doing. Okay, and they got Titans. Titans is out. So I'm just saying, look at the potential with Marvel, Star Wars, Lucasfilm, Disney, Pixar. A lot of this exclusive content that you're going to be getting, no doubt, through this new Disney streaming service. Austin, what are your thoughts on like where mainstream video and media is going these days? Because I think actually cable is like an 8-track tape. It's like literally who gets cable anymore? You know, you stream that. So, what do you think about all this?
There's a lot going on. Netflix, they're doing it right. They're doing what they need to be doing. They started pushing out original content because I think they saw this coming, right? They looked ahead and they said, Disney's going to pull all of their stuff, and we need something to compete with them when they get big. But you look at what Disney has, and even just the rumors right now. I don't know if this was officially announced. Actually, I think it was. The Loki miniseries and the Scarlet Witch miniseries featuring the actors from the MCU. Now, that is enough to get me to sign up for your service. But you throw in a $100 million budgeted live action Star Wars television series, dude, here, take whatever I have. I'll give you anything you want. And a lot of people are going to feel that way. And I think they've already got a little bit of competition going with Netflix, and they haven't even released this streaming service. And the fact that you have Hulu and Netflix and Disney and DC and all of these things releasing streaming services, what you said about cable is true, Joe. I think it's I think it's going downhill fast.
We cut the cord about 4 years ago. And we've not looked back since. I mean, come on, shows like Daredevil and all the stuff that's coming out on Netflix. I mean, some of that stuff is just unreal. And then Amazon is also, and Hulu as well, are just pushing out some of these great shows. I mean, The Handmaid's Tale, The Crown. Yes. Have you seen The Crown? I mean, just some of these amazing shows. And I'm looking at this Mandalorian picture here. It kind of feels a little bit Rogue One-esque.
Oh, yes.
And I know that's not like in the timeline of Star Wars because this takes place after Jedi, but Rogue One, it kind of's got that. I love the feel of Rogue One.
If you give me that dark feel, I'm on board all day.
Yeah, all
day.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, not so much on Solo.
That's
sure. Just
I'm a little worried to go back and revisit Solo, Joe.
I had a statement the other day about Solo. I'll let you go, then I'll finish.
Oh, I feel like because I didn't hate it when I first saw it in the theaters. It was just kind of there. You know? And I feel like if I go back and revisit it, it's either going to be like, oh, I guess it was still there, or it's going to be like, I think I just don't really like this movie that much. So I don't know. I'm going to go back. I'm going to watch it eventually, and we're going to see. But it's not one that I remember that came out this year, so that's not a good sign.
That's not a good sign at all, is it?
It's not good, Joe.
Well, here's my sentiments on it. I have a mental pact with my brain and my wallet that I'm not. There's 2 films in my life I don't think I will purchase on my own unless someone actually just gifts it for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, hell, thank you. It would be the Fantastic Four remake. That's a stinker, and Solo. Yeah, I just don't think I can shell out the money for either one of those titles. It's just, and you know what? I kind of feel like the Fantastic Four, Solo is kind of like that. It's kind of like
I hate that. That's the thing though, because it's like, it's odd because when Solo came out, I didn't give it a negative review. I just gave it like a meh. It's fine. Yeah. But the more that I think about the fact that it exists, the more that it eats away my soul. You know what I mean? It's not that it's bad.
Dang.
It's like, okay, I'm going to make a sports reference. It's like the Cleveland Browns, right?
Oh, no.
They're not bad this year. They're not bad.
Their jerseys are bad.
They could win. Oh, they look like turds. They could win every game, right? They could win the Super Bowl. They could win 3 Super Bowls in a row. I'll never acknowledge that they exist. They're just there, right?
Yeah.
They could win, break every record. They're there, and that's how I feel about Solo.
Kind of like the Dolphins.
It might be fine.
kind of like the Dolphins. Just saying.
They could be good, but they're not going to win. I just think Solo is there. Let's go to bring out episode 9.
Yeah. Well, we have two more news segments, and then we're going to get into Venom. So stay with us.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about something else. Gotham may be coming to an end in 2019, but Fox's Batman prequel series isn't going away quietly. In fact, according to the show's leading man, the best is yet to come. During production on Gotham's 5th and final season, Bruce Wayne himself, David Mazouz, said that Gotham will be moving faster than ever when it returns, and as he points out, the season will contain less than half of the episodes from the previous installments. Instead of the typical 22 episodes, season 5 only contains 10.
Whoa.
With a lot of story left to tell, the story will seriously increase its pace, that's not good, to make sure everything gets included. While it might be disappointing for fans to only see another 10 episodes, it sounds like they will be filled with nonstop action. So here's my take on this show. I want this to kind of, first of all, I need to catch up. I'm a little behind, but I have been catching up more recently. But I want this to include all of the things that we want to see. I just don't want it to feel crammed. And that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. But I do like the fact that it's 10 episodes, because some of the other seasons, they did have a little bit too much filler. What's your thoughts on Gotham?
Well, you know what? I'm actually kind of happy with 10 episodes, because let's go back and look at Daredevil Season 2.
Concise.
Yeah. So you think about Daredevil Season 2, what is it, 12 episodes?
Yeah.
You know, and there's some laggy parts in there too.
There are.
There's some laggy parts. But
even the Defenders, the one problem that I didn't have with it, I had issues, but I didn't
That
have
was only
a problem.
8, though.
It was only 8, but it never felt like they were shoehorning a bunch of things in there. It just felt kind of messy, right?
Yeah,
but
choppy.
I think the fact that it was 8 episodes helped it. And I like what Netflix is doing, so how they're kind of going off of that model, I think it could suit it pretty well.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I just hopefully, though, they don't try to, like, cram so much DC Universe history in terms of Gotham, Batman, and that whole lore into those 10 episodes, because it could get really choppy, the editing could get really bad, and they could really be oversaturating a lot of content that kind of needs to gradually be inserted over time, because you just can't fly in and just say, oh, here's a Batarang. Wait, where did that come from? Who made it? You know, it's just like, what? You know, you can't do it. There's some things you have to set up. You know, you have to get Lucius in there, and you have to build up the Gotham Wayne Empire, and, you know, it's just, I don't know. But I am excited. I missed 4 episodes of the last season, and so I need to catch up before I can watch these 10 right here. But I am excited to see how all this comes to fruition. Now, did you hear that the spinoff is going to be actually, they're making a spinoff of this? Did you hear about that?
Oh no, I did not.
They're supposed to be making one with Pennyworth.
Ooh, oh yeah, okay, the Alfred series. Now, is that this Alfred?
I think so.
I would be okay with that. I like this Alfred.
You know, how did Alfred become such a, you know, master of the martial arts, and then how does he know his stuff, you know? So it's kind of a really interesting, how did he become the Wayne's voice after Thomas Wayne died and all that stuff. But now that's in the rumor mill. I just want to say, give a shout out to my buddy Mr. John Durham, who's hanging out with me right now. What's up, John? Love you, man.
What's up, John?
All right, so last but not least, we have the news segment. We have DC Universe has found its Harley Quinn. The Big Bang Theory star Kaylee Cuoco has been cast as the anti-hero in the upcoming Harley Quinn animated series. Now, fans get to hear, is it Cuoco or Cuoco's? Cuoco.
I don't know.
Cuoco's Harley in the surprise first look at the series revealed during the screening of Titans pilot at the New York City Comic-Con. Now, Harley Quinn does not have yet a release date, The only idea of when the series will debut being that it's basically as coming soon is what they're saying. So that's basically at the end of the teaser. There's no date. So, is in quote, "This is just the beginning of our journey to open up the world of DC to our fans," Craig Hunnig said. He's the president of Warner Brothers Digital Networks. And he said in a statement, "With new originals," end quote, he says, "digital comics and growing community forum, we're delivering an immersive experience that blends page and screen, creating a place where fans can share their passions for their favorite superheroes and storylines like never before," end quote. So, that sentence really does not sound structured and revised 20 times. As someone who is an editorial, I was like, oh, they've really spent some time on that sentence right there. It's a little bit of a run-on PR department, just kind of exacerbating the moment there.
Okay, we gotta make it sound good.
Oh man, that's funny. But you know what? It's just another notch in the belt of the DC Universe platform, and I think it's going to be a great when this thing launches. That Harley Quinn is coming back into an animated series. I'm a little sad that the original voice of Harley Quinn from the old animated series isn't coming back because she just literally, she's iconic. In that role, but passing the hat sometimes is a good thing as well. So I'm open and optimistic to see what is going to happen here. So, what do you think about Harley Quinn coming back as their own animated series? Are you liking it?
I think it could be cool. I like the animation. I like where DC's been going with their animation style recently. It's more just it's kind of crisp to me. It's different. I still like the old throwback stuff, but I like how they're going in a new direction. But I think she could be a really interesting voice. When I hear her talk, I don't necessarily hear Harley Quinn, but I could hear Harley Quinn. It's kind of like Bradley Cooper. You don't hear Rocket Raccoon when he talks.
That's
but then
true.
When he spins his voice in that direction, you have Rocket Raccoon, right? So I think this could be really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see how dark they go for the fact that it's an animated series. So this could be really cool. I'm on board.
Sweet. Well, guys, it is that time. It's a halfway point of the show, and we are going to dive right now into Venom, the film review, and more. That's the main topic of the show. So if you're joining us, and we want to say thank you so much so far for joining us through our comic news and just our geekiness and our nerdiness, I invite you right now to just like and share this out on your feed and maybe post it on your wall or your timeline and just let others know, hey, these guys are getting ready to talk about this new movie, Venom. Come check it out. Now, we'll give you a warning. We're gonna be talking a little bit about some spoilers. We're going to be talking about the ending, what that means in terms of all of that. We're going to be breaking it all down. So if you have not seen Venom, we're getting ready to cross the point of no return here. So I'm going to go ahead and roll the spoiler alert. We'll be back. Venom is coming to you next.
Danger. You are about to enter a PopX spoiler alert. Beyond this point, there is no return. You have been warned.
All right, you have been warned, ladies and gentlemen. So you heard my voice there in a very deep kind of tone. All right, so
Nice tone.
So we're going to do this a little different. Usually we just open up and we just start talking about what we thought about it. But I kind of was like meditating on this the past week, and I was like, so how are we going to talk about Venom? And I want to do it in a different way. So we're going to categorize it into 4 different categories, and I want to hear what your 4 categories are. When I want to hear what your responses are to these 4 categories in the comments below. So we're going to talk first about what worked, what didn't work, what was confusing, and what was missing. Okay? So you know what I'm saying? So we're going to kind of break it down. It's like, all right, so we know where this is. We know where it could be. We know where it should be. And what was like, I didn't get it. Yeah. So you got it? All right. So Austin, I want you to open us up this week and tell us what worked. What do you think worked in this film?
Okay. So if you guys have seen my review, then you know my thoughts on the movie as a whole. But I think a lot worked. A lot more than you would think if you go and look at the critic scores. Some people I think are being a little unfairly harsh to the movie because there's a lot there. There's a lot of potential for a fantastic film. And the biggest thing that I would say is the relationship between Tom Hardy or Eddie Brock and the symbiote. I loved that relationship.
Yeah.
I love their conversations. I love what they say to each other. When he, I don't want to say what he said, but when he calls him a certain word for taking the elevator, that scene It just sums it up for me how hilarious their relationship was. And when it first started out, I'm like, am I on board for this tone? Because we have this super serious, like evil character, yet the interaction between Eddie Brock and the symbiote at times was really kind of cheesy and cornball. But the more I watched it, the more I'm like, I really like what they're doing. And I like the direction that they're going. And I think with the box office and right now. Yeah. Oh, see, now that and the voice, the sound of the voice, was that not just great? Now,
Austin.
I think Tom Hardy.
What are you doing, Austin?
Joe.
I'm sorry.
Is that your actual voice?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I'm the voice inside your head.
Sorry.
I think no, you're fine. I just want to preach the fact that Venom worked only because Eddie Brock worked with Venom, if that makes sense. Their relationship was portrayed, I think, very comic accurate and different to a point that wasn't like offending to the fans of Venom, but brought new people on board. And another thing that I really liked, and then I'll let you give your points, Joe, but the humor in the movie, not just the relationship between the symbiote, but some of the lines that Tom Hardy had, I was literally sitting there cracking up. And even the parts of the movie that I don't know if it wanted you to laugh at, but you were laughing anyway, to me, that's entertainment.
Yeah.
Whether they meant for that to affect you that way or not, I like to judge a movie not just by the filmmaking, but how it makes me feel. And I was sitting there laughing at those parts. So those were the things that kind of worked for me, Joe. I want to hear your thoughts.
All right. So the things, I was going in here. I really didn't know what to expect. I've only seen I watched the trailer. Obviously, you go to the theater and you sit down and it's one of the trailers that comes on before a movie. And so I went in and one of the vibes I got, I think they've taken some notes from Deadpool.
Yeah.
I think they've taken some. I think they've taken some tones from Deadpool here, and it actually worked. And I think this movie, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, it would not have been near as good if Tom Hardy wasn't as cast in this role as Venom. I think Tom Hardy was 100% accurate. Man, he was just on this role. He is Eddie Brock, and just his mannerisms going down the street, kind of scratching, and just I mean, he personifies Eddie Brock and Venom. Yeah. I mean, and I don't know if you knew this, but he is also the voice of Venom as well. And so it's just amazing how he's everything. He's the one-stop pack. Literally, this is a movie with Tom Hardy and Venom. I mean, that's just, and it worked for me on all. The comedy was great. I know the scene you're talking about in the stairwell, and he's wanting to take the elevator. That was pretty daggone funny.
I laughed.
And I like the one where he's like,
"You're like a turd in a wind."
and when he gets in the vat with the lobsters, I saw a review and it compared him to Jim Carrey in Liar Liar.
It was awesome. Was it not awesome? It's just like, it's like
but it worked.
Yeah, it's like, and he just kept I can imagine how this was shot, because it was shot from one perspective and then they had to go back in and add the other perspective, which was Venom at the end of it. So it was really interesting, the concept. And for me, I think the shots worked. I think that Venom worked. The symbiote looked like it did from the comics. It was, this like alien, like, I don't know how you describe it, but elastic fibers coming out and just the tongue flailing. The teeth looked accurate. It even got the blessing of the creator himself, Mr. Todd McFarlane, who created Venom back in the 90s. So I think with all of that, and everything else that I think, the supporting acting cast was okay for me, but for me, what worked, the soundtrack was great. I thought the soundtrack was very accompanying to some of the scenes and the shots. I thought that was great. And there wasn't moments either that I was looking for, those moments like in Black Panther in the final battle. The CGI kind of breaks down a little bit and it looks a little fake. I was kind of looking for that. I really didn't see it. No. The CGI was very fluid throughout, and so you blink your eyes, you really couldn't tell. You just looked real on screen. Yeah. So for me, that's what worked. Now, Mike is going to come in and join us as well here. He's going to share a couple of thoughts about what he thought worked, and then I'm going to let Mike transition into what he thought maybe didn't work as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
I also thought I thought the cinematography was really good. I know that's going back to that, Austin, you the filmmaking, whatever, but the filmmaking, like the looks of the shots, and I actually looked up who did the cinematography for this movie, And A Star Is Born came out this weekend. It's the same cinematographer for both films. And I knew there was something I was seeing there like, that kind of looks similar. Same cinematographer, 2 movies in 1 weekend. That's pretty cool.
That's a good week for that dude. Right.
That's a big week.
Now, Mike Ippolito, why don't you tell us what is good? I want to know, you're going to kind of transition us into the next category, so I want to hear what was your good parts, and transition at the end of it, what was bad, and then me and Austin will pick up on the bad part.
Overall, well, going into it, I didn't have like high hopes for this, but once I kind of started getting into it, it actually was a lot better than I thought. Like you guys said, the special effects was amazing. The chemistry with Eddie Brock and the symbiote was very good. The comedy was great. I actually thoroughly enjoyed this movie more than I thought I would.
Right, me too. Yeah, was there a moment in there where you were just like, oh, that is so cool? Was there just something that's just like jaw dropping for you?
Just kind of like the banter between the two of them. That where it just kind of started.
The voice in your head.
So yeah. That was a highlight for me. And to actually have my theater, I mean, there was a good amount of people. I went to the first show in noontime.
Yeah.
And it was about 30, 40 people, and the cheers from the crowd was pretty amazing. That from some of the stuff and even the laughter, like you would hear certain things and like only a few people would laugh, and then like everybody else would, because it was like you weren't sure if you were supposed to laugh at that or not.
It's what Austin said. Yeah. That's awesome, man. And so you loved the CGI, right? You obviously
the special effects, and I didn't realize that there was more than one symbiote. There was, I think, 4 in total.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot. There's millions on this asteroid, and they're trying to all get to Earth to, So it's really interesting when you start unraveling that. There's this whole universe of Venom symbiotes that are trying to make their way to Earth, and Venom, of course, is the outcast of them all. So so now, Mike, from what was good, what were some of the things you thought that I don't want to necessarily weren't bad but didn't work?
I don't know if it's so much it didn't work. It just seemed like it took a while to get to the Venom character. Like you got, I think the Eddie Brock story went longer than it should have. I think it was, they should have maybe cut it down a little bit, and then it should have been more of, him together with or as Venom. I think that's kind of the only thing that I can really think of off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, while you're on camera, there was a note I was reading online. Let's see, what was this, Collider? I was reading on Collider that they had said something to the effect that there was 30 minutes of footage that was deleted from this film, and it was some of Tom Hardy's favorite scenes that were in the rated R category. They were definitely shooting for a Deadpool-esque type film, and so there was some definitely rated R moments in this film. So I think on the flip side, going back to the good, I think when this comes to home release, I think we're going to get a more of an uncut version that's going to be true to that original story that McFarlane and everybody tried to create. And it's going to be awesome. You think of 30 minutes of footage that was cut, that I almost keep immediately thinking about like Justice League or something. It's just, but they had to get that PG-13 in there, so they only had just, they wanted to make sure that they appealed not on R. They didn't want to go full R, but I think there's going to be 2 versions of this: theatrical cut, director's cut. So, so all right. So Mike, I'm gonna transition over to Austin. Now, Austin, what did you think didn't work?
Okay, so I thought there were a lot of things that did work for me in this movie, but there were even more things that didn't work, and unfortunately, my movie critiquing and movie loving brain it couldn't stop eating at me while I was watching the film. Like, that's not working very well for me, and this part doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I think the biggest problem that I have with the film is there's a good movie in there.
Yes, right? There is a good movie in there.
I wanted to see the definitive Venom movie, or even a Venom movie that was a really good movie with the really good character. Unfortunately, we only got one of those 2 things. I thought the villain was... I didn't care. I think Riz Ahmed's a great actor, but I did not care about his villain whatsoever. Michelle Williams was wasted. She's an Oscar-nominated actress. She's fantastic, one of the best I've seen in 10 years, and she did nothing. She was there, and then she wasn't there, and then she comes in and makes out with Tom Hardy at one point, and that was odd. It was fine, but it was odd. There were just so
That was
many
She
different
Venom, though,
elements of
man.
the movie.
That was She Venom. That was a She Venom.
It was just, it didn't work for me. The tone of that scene was so off from the rest of the movie, and that's one thing that I can say about this film. It was oddly edited. It looked good, but the editing for me, it was so fast paced, and I actually think. So you look at the runtime of the movie, I believe it's like an hour and 51 minutes, but the credits and the post-credit scenes are so long. The movie itself is only like 130, 135. I think that was kind of detrimental to this film because they squeezed so many things into that runtime, and it didn't flow well.
The credits were really long on this one. You were right.
They were, weren't
I was
they?
sitting there watching because, it's a Marvel movie. You got to wait until the end.
You have to.
And, of course, I was right. There was some end stuff, but it was just like, I was sitting there, I was like, whoa, we're not even at the song credits yet. What the heck, man?
What are we doing?
Where are we going? All right, so this is the toilet butt wiper from the Australia group. This is the facilities crew that actually cleaned the urinals, and this who cares?
The janitors.
The janitors.
It looked in the building.
Now I want to say this. This is almost an Easter egg, but I do want to share it. There was a moment. This is going back to the good. All right. Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt you in your train of thought, but if I don't get this out, I'll forget it. Did you notice that in the name of the pilot who died in the crash?
No.
Jameson.
His son?
Jonas? It was a direct tie-in to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. Because in Spider-Man 3, there was a crash that killed J. Jonah's son.
Wow.
Right? Didn't J. Jonah's son die in 3?
I guess. Yeah, I think so. And that's when the thing comes down and it lands. Oh, wow.
So this, I don't know if any fans picked up on it, but I sure as heck did. When his name was Jameson, I'm like, John Jameson?
That's cool.
And I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's a direct tie-in to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 3.
That's cool. And that's the effort that I'm talking about. It's like, it was all there, Joe, and they had the love and they had the compassion, and you can see that love with Tom Hardy. He loves this character.
It wasn't there with Solo, though.
It was
let's do that 12 parsecs thing, whatever the heck that looks like. Yeah, whatever.
Here's a quick side note about Solo. I feel like if Solo wasn't called Solo and it wasn't about Han Solo, then it would have been a really cool.
Han Holo.
Then it would have been a really cool, like, space pirate Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Right? But the fact that they made it Han Solo, and it just wasn't Han Solo. I thought the kid did fine, but it just wasn't the character of Han Solo.
Yeah.
The more I
I'm sorry. I don't mean to tell my Star Wars friends out there. I don't mean to keep bashing it, but
Venom is better.
So. Moving on here, so what didn't work for me? I thought there were some scenes that were kind of edited and kind of a little bit of a choppy feeling. The enemy was very predictable. I kind of knew right off the gate when Eddie was interviewing the owner of the Life Foundation. I was like, oh, I bet he's the enemy. And sure enough, he becomes Riot, and he becomes the enemy. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, that wasn't a plot twist. That was kind of like predictable. It's kind of like Ant-Man, you can almost predict the enemy in Ant-Man, but Ant-Man is so funny and hilarious. You got to keep coming back for more. So for me, the predictability, that's one of the things about superhero movies. We all know the stories going in because we're all comic book nerds at heart, and they want to stay true to the comics, and if they try to throw in a little curveball, sometimes it doesn't go very well. We've seen that happen many times in some of the previous Marvel comic movie. Well, Fantastic Four, for example, they try to create something and reinvent it, but you can't do that because there's lore. There's 70 years of comic book lore there that you can't erase. So,
didn't it feel like a movie that belongs in the early 2000s? I just feel like we've moved past this kind of film, and I'm talking about the film, not the character.
Yeah,
but
it did. It did kind of feel. It kind of felt like a Fantastic Four style, not the remake, the original one with Chris Evans. Yeah.
That's exactly what I compared it to. Yes, I think it feels like those movies.
And that's not necessarily bad. I don't know who's the director of the film.
This one was Ruben Fleischer. He did.
Did he do any of those films in the 90s like those stuff?
He did Zombieland. That's what he did.
Well, Zombieland's not bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like Zombieland a lot. And you can actually get those vibes from this movie because it's a little bit funny, it's a little bit dark.
Yeah.
And if it would have been R-rated, I think it would have been a lot better.
Yeah, agreed. I think if Sony would have like taken the bullet on this one, because you would have definitely catered to a particular crowd, you would have But for me, I think the bad part is the predictability of the enemy, of the villain, and just some of the shots were a little choppy in the storytelling. Now, Eddie's portion, the beginning of it, I actually liked the backstory of Eddie.
It was good.
I didn't really have any qualms or complaints with it, because I was like, okay, we have to know who Eddie Brock is, his mannerisms before he gets infected, because when he's infected, he's totally different than what he's already set up in the first 30 minutes of the film. So you understand there's a dynamic there. You have to let us know who Eddie Brock is as a human before Eddie Brock becomes Venom, and I think they did that very well. There was some things, like you said, there were some jokes that just I don't know. There was moments like I laughed and I didn't really know if it was funny or not, so I just kept laughing. But I'm not saying the jokes were bad or the scenes were bad. It was just,
something fell off.
Something fell off along the way.
Yeah. One of my qualms, real quick, with Eddie Brock and his backstory. It has nothing to do with the backstory. I didn't like that it took so long for Venom to show up, but that's fine.
Yeah.
He was a horrible reporter. How does this man have a job? Seriously, he's awful. First of all, he has a New York accent.
I think his girlfriend even called him out on it, though.
He's a horrible
He
reporter.
sucks.
He's living in, where do they live? California? Is that where they
San
live?
Francisco.
He's going up to be like, hey, man, hey, what are you doing, man?
Hey, yeah, you that guy down at the Life Foundation that got
You're
that
not
down.
going to hire a guy with that accent who's that bad at reporting to work in San Francisco. It's not realistic. So that was just like, it was just so off-putting to me. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. But it's Tom Hardy, so I didn't care. He's a good-looking guy.
Yeah. So with all that said, I think it's all right. Now let's go into the confusing part. So we what was good, what was bad, what was confusing about this, Austin?
One thing that I thought of was, and I know they mentioned it in the film, but the symbiote really loved Eddie Brock. And we get, I was a loser, you were a loser, we're both losers. Why are they losers? It never explored why the symbiote was a loser. It just kept saying, well, I'm a loser. And it went through so many, you're telling me the symbiotes kept attaching themselves to so many people, killing them, messing them up, whatever. And then it gets on Eddie and it's like, I'm hungry. That's about it. I mean, yes, it's eating my inside, but that's about it. And I guess it just stopped eating his insides, because at the end he's just like, yeah, we're good. We're here. And it's on me and we're okay. So
yeah.
That part for me was just like, it comes back to the runtime too. I need more. I need to know
and I
more.
think
We know
thinking
more
that
because we're comic lovers, but we need more.
I think in that 30 minutes of extra footage too, I think we might get a little bit more of that. Hopefully. Yeah. Also too, I thought it was very interesting. I don't know if I've ever read this in the comic books, but there's a healing properties with Venom when Eddie broke his foot. I'm like, and he instantly healed. I can't remember off the top of my head because I haven't really dove into the world of Venomverse in a long time. I kind of been reading some other comics, but it was interesting to see that dynamic. I was like, oh, so he's a quick healer. As long as he's Venom, he can heal. So that was an interesting dynamic as well to kind of see that play out. Now, for me, did you wrap up on your confusing portion?
Okay, so the last thing that I have.
Okay, yeah.
Stupid. When Eddie scales the building to give his old boss the evidence, why didn't he just text it to him? Why don't you just text him the evidence? It's on your phone. Text him the evidence. Why did you have to scale the building, try to get through security? Text him the evidence. That's my last one. Go ahead.
Yeah, that didn't really make sense. He left the phone. He left his phone on the desk and was like, do the right thing.
He's like, I can't send you this picture, but I will bring you the phone with the picture on it. It's like the ultimate airdrop.
Was it really an airdrop or was it a symbiote drop? I don't know what it was. I don't know what. Yeah, you're totally right on. I did not. I mean, okay, yeah. We are talking about a modern time film. So for me, the confusing part definitely will be what you just said. That was a little weird. I think too, just just all the other Venoms that were around as well was kind of confusing a little bit too, because as someone going into the Venomverse, I really wasn't familiar with Riot or She-Venom or Dog Venom, Canine. You know, I didn't know all. There was a lot of references.
In the container. How'd they get them in the container? They couldn't.
What was the extraction process on this comet? That was another. I was kind of confused by that, and what was the Life Foundation's owner? What was he trying to accomplish in bringing the symbiotes here? Was he trying to create?
Yes.
What was his goal? I mean, was he creating super soldiers, or was he trying to evolve the human race?
Yeah.
I mean, are we going into upgrade territory here? Or what are we doing here? You know, are we evolving? So that was a little confusing for me. Now I want to hear from Mike. As Mike, was there any part of this film, Mike, that was confusing? And when you're done with that, I will let you lead into what was missing. So what was confusing? What was missing? Go.
The confusing was kind of like, at first I didn't really get it about when Venom decided that he wasn't going back, that he was going to save the world towards the end. That was kind of like threw me off a little bit at first, and then just kind of figured it out as I went. But yeah, like a few of what you guys already touched on, about getting the symbiotes in the containers, and what was the plan of the Life Corporation there. Just that's some stuff. It just kind of, I had to do some thinking, opposed to trying to sit and enjoy the movie.
Right.
Trying to figure out
Did anybody notice the Life Foundation's cliff was the same cliff where Tony Stark's house is?
I knew I recognized.
It did look familiar.
Yeah. All right. So moving on. So what was missing, Mike? Do you think there was a part of this that was just kind of like, well, I kind of wish they would have had that in there?
Well, hopefully the extra 30 minutes, hopefully they'll include, a director's version that help kind of clear up some of the confusing stuff.
Yeah.
As far as, the symbiotes in the containers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of the only thing I can, think that would be missing, that, hopefully we can get a little bit of explanation, with a director's cut.
Yeah. Yeah, because they really didn't explain what the heck are these containers? Why is there a plane traveling from another world? Wait, now this plane actually kind of was on another mission, which wasn't explained, and it found the comet and landed on the comet as a second mission. Oh, well, we need to land on this comet. So what were they doing out there in the first place? And what were they looking for aside from finding the comet? None of that.
No.
I don't know.
Nothing.
There's burning questions.
There's no, yes.
Not a bit.
I got an itch.
Not at all.
So I'm just saying. So awesome, Mike. So if you want to rate this on 1 to 10, here we go. And then I'm going to give up what on me and you, Austin. We're going to wrap up on ours as well.
Okay.
What are you going to give it, Mike?
I'm going to go with 7.
That's good.
7 out of 10
Yeah.
on that.
That's pretty close to mine.
It kind of turned out better than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
Seeing the trailers, and unfortunately I know very little about Venom, Venomverse, and all that stuff.
Right.
I was just looking forward to a good movie, and then I didn't get a whole lot out of the trailers, but once I went in there and I actually watched it, I thoroughly enjoyed it better than I thought it would.
Nice. Definitely going to be a 4K purchase for me. I will say that much. I think it's going to be a definitely one for the library. Well, Mike, thanks so much, man. And let's give it up for this guy right here from Atlanta, Georgia. I love this dude so much. He makes PopX rock. And so Mike's got a 7, and I'm going to actually go with my part too. What was missing? I was missing Spider-Man.
Yes.
Can I just state the obvious here? You can't have Brock without Parker. You can't have Joker without Batman.
No.
Although Tom Holland's supposed to be,
there were rumors about that. There was rumors he was on set at Venom. Maybe that's in the 30 minutes that was cut.
Could be, because he wasn't supposed to be Spider-Man. He was supposed to be there as Peter Parker.
As Parker, covering a story on something, but even that would have been a nice nod into the MCU verse, right? because Sony has a contract agreement with MCU, right? I don't. And also, another thing was missing. Where is Venom's icon on his chest? His spider icon.
Yes. Oh,
Where? I mean, that was kind of like, oh, wait, he's Venom, but he's not got the signature white spider on front and back. That just kind of was okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll roll with it. I can play that. So I think lack of incorporation into the MCU, because they could have really, this could have been a nice setup for Spider-Man 3. Don't you think that would have been a great setup? Like, you know, Spider-Man, because we know Far From Home is going to be dealing with Mysterio. We've seen that. And so Spider-Man 3 could wrap it up on Venomverse, you know? You know, with Carnage and you know, maybe Spider-Man having to, and Venom having to tag team to battle Carnage. You know, I mean, they could have really, the potential. Now, one thing I got to say I did like was the Stan Lee cameo.
Yeah, that was great. That was I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
So Austin, you go ahead and give your end, and then you and I are going to give our number, and we're going to wrap this thing up. We may give you a couple of Easter eggs as we roll out, but we don't want to go too late tonight. So, Austin, what was missing for you?
Well, I completely agree with you on Spider-Man. When he lost the symbiote at the end, when it burnt wherever and it said, "Bye, Eddie," I felt a little bit of emotion there. I'm like, wow, that's kind of heartbreaking. And then like 3 minutes later, it was back and they just wrapped it up. And I'm like, I was missing the opportunity to mourn for their relationship and the symbiote that I had grown attached to throughout the entire movie. It just, that's another thing to me that just felt really, really rushed. And then I was missing, the final scene in the movie was, first of all, in the trailer, and second of all, released as a clip online that I had watched. It's the scene where he's in the department store like a turd in the wind. That entire line, that entire scene was released online. Why would you release the last scene of the movie online? I was missing the mystery. Where was the mystery and the intrigue of the movie? And then we get Carnage, but we get Carnage in a post-credit scene, which, while I will admit that was a pretty cool post-credit scene, barring the fact that he said his name. He's like, "There's gonna be Carnage." It was still a cool. It's like when you say the name of the movie, and the movie is like The Dark Knight.
Yeah, it's like Family Guy. Yeah, he said it. That is, yeah.
But I that scene was cool, but I was missing the presence of an actual villain. I get it, you're saving the big villain for the sequel.
Right.
But give me a good villain in the first movie. Give me a reason to come back for the sequel, right? And there were a lot of things missing from this movie, which is, for me, why it ended up being a disappointment. But there were also good things as well. So those, for me, were the big things that were missing.
Well, I'm going to give it a 6.8. So Mike's a 7. I'm a 6.8. What are you going to give it, Austin?
I'm the lowest of the bunch.
Okay.
I'm a 5.4.
I can respect it.
And I know it's hard. I save my 7s for movies that I really like. I save my 6s for movies that I think may not be the most entertaining film ever, but I still think it's a decent film.
Right.
I'm a 5.4 because I'm above the halfway point.
But you're also a college graduate film student as well, so you do have that going on for you.
I'm very harsh on movies, and I've had people comment like, "Hey man, why don't you give this a 10 if you liked it that much?" It's like, I like to save these things for movies that really just kind of envelop me. And I know a 5.4 sounds harsh, but there were good things. And if you see my score and you say, "Well, why don't you want me to see this movie?" I think everybody should check this movie out. There's a lot of things to love in there. The character's great. And it did get me excited to see Venom again, so it has that going for it. So mine's a 5.4.
It's definitely rewatchable.
It is.
Definitely rewatchable.
Absolutely.
So we got a 7 from Mike, a 6.8 from me, and we got a 5.4 from Mr. Austin Burke. Now, before we go and we wrap this up, we're going to give you a couple of Easter eggs here we're going to try to go through maybe, and Austin, you and I will just cycle back and forth on these. Okay. But so I'm going to just kick this off. We got about 5 minutes left, and then we're going to wrap up. So it's hard to believe that Sony was the first to pay some kind of tribute to J. Jonah Jameson, the famed editor of New York's Daily Bugle, as the Marvel side of Spider-Man universe has yet to follow up with J.K. Simmons' portrayal, since Peter is still years away from his photojournalist job. Venom does drop the name every fan is waiting for, and I think I hinted at this earlier, not where you expect it though. When the emergency vehicles arrive on the scene of the Life Foundation's crash ship, only one member of the shuttle's crew actually survives the landing. Eventually it's revealed that the Riot symbiote has kept him alive, but at first we all know his name, Jameson. He is John Jameson, the adult astronaut of son J. Jonah Jameson, reliving his brush with the spaceborne symbiotes that fans witnessed in Spider-Man, the cartoon series, as well as Spider-Man 3. It was Sam Raimi. So that's kind of so that was interesting. So I guess he did survive, right?
Yeah, apparently.
Apparently. Yeah. Okay.
So there could be some setup for that in the future. The next one is the brutality with which the Riot fights can't be understated. Even with Venom warning Eddie that the team leader has tricks unlike anything they faced before, still Venom holds its own for a while, but Riot determines that it's found itself a strong host. And I don't really know what was strong about tiny little Riz Ahmed walking around. He wasn't very threatening to me, but apparently he's found a strong host.
Yeah.
He starts trying to forcibly rip the symbiote away from him, then off of Eddie's body. It climaxes in a storm of liquid symbiote tendrils, Eddie and Carlton Drake duking it out along with their symbiotes. However, it starts with Riot tearing the top half of Venom's head and jaw off of Eddie's skull. That was pretty cool, forcing both to let out a scream in pain. The director promised that they had tried to recreate comic covers and panels directly, and I loved this.
Yeah.
And the homage to the famous cover art for Venom, Carnage Unleashed #3, is impossible to miss, even if it's Riot doing the separating instead of Carnage, which I wanted it to be Carnage, but it still looked pretty great.
Look at that. That's a direct take. Even though it's not cool. Carnage doing it, it's Riot. Yeah. It's pretty awesome that they did infuse the comic. All right, continuing on, after Eddie tells his new symbiote that they must establish ground rules for coexisting, the most important of which is to almost never eat people. Of course, we all know Venom has a hunger for brains. Venom seems to agree, so instead of a brain, Venom requests tater tots and chocolate. Okay, as the comics eventually explained, the eating of heads isn't a wanton of violence, but the symbiote's best way of attaining a phenolphthalein, oh boy, I can't even say that word, phenolphthalein, a chemical that simulates the brain in humans. Now, this is required by symbiotes of Venom species. However, it is also found in another substance, chocolate. Interesting. The good news is that Venom gets to enjoy both sources of phenolphthalein in the movie's last scene. Phenolphthalein? Yeah. I am just... I can't do it. My little hillbilly redneck brain is not ready for that. All right, Austin.
I couldn't either. So the dog, a Papillion puppy named Gemini, which is a clever bit of foreshadowing, is accompanying its owner in the hospital where Anne's new boyfriend is employed. While said boyfriend, Dan, Anne and Dan, says that the dog can't be kept in the hospital. Even if the owner is staying next to her husband in a hospital room, she ignores him. And that's all the difference for Eddie Brock's story. When the symbiote is separated, it sneaks through an air vent until encountering the next stable life form available, which is Gemini. Sadly, only the dog's determined walk and a brief glimpse of the black and white of the symbiote sliding across its eyes is offered up for fans. However, it's still a fantastic homage to the grand tradition of symbiote dogs, which are seen in the comics. However, whether it's the war dog Lasher in a modern Carnage epic or the dog Venom adheres to in order to escape the Arctic colds, neither has been so brilliant as to combine the insatiable monster and one of the most objectively dainty and adorable breeds. You're combining a dog with a symbiote. You'd have some cute.
What happens when you combine Venom and a Papillon puppy? I don't know. Venion. I don't know what to. All right, so we only have a couple of more Easter eggs for you. So the moment of understanding that flashes between the symbiote puppy and Eddie's ex-fiance. Did you just read that one, or did I read that one? No. All right, so Eddie's ex-fiance is one of the movie's weirdest, but they're actually partnership soon. It's one of the weirdest ones of the movie, but the partnership soon saves Eddie's life, if you can believe that. So as much as our hearts are sored, hoping that the lashing limbs taking out Eddie's kidnappers will be revealed as the work of the symbiote dog, the reveal is even better. With one of the final attacks on Treese Carlton, Drake's head of security, and a sensual, somewhat sinister, "Hi, Eddie," the first case of a female Venom is revealed, and there is actually a she-Venom, believe it or not. And so Anne is teamed up with a symbiote, making yet another comic book character part of the movie's canon, she-Venom. The movie version of Annie may differ from the comics, where Eddie and Anne were married and divorced, but the design for her time in the symbiote suit is virtually almost identical, minus the spider emblem, of course. Also in the comics, Anne dealt with shockingly lethal levels of violence. She was kind of dealing with that on the side, which made the experience even more painful. One in later issues, not to simple power rush of the movie, but however, the comics drove Anne into enough guilt to take her own life, so we'll accept that change. So yeah, it drove the symbiote in the comics, drove her mentally insane.
Now that's dark. My goodness.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be right only to pay credit to one of the people responsible for the creation of Venom proper, and the movie makes sure to include them all. In fact, since it's Eddie snooping into Anne's work emails and her being fired for it that sets his mission in motion, you could say that the creators are just as integral to the movie. The law firm at which Anne works also represents the Life Foundation, the firms of, now, what is this name?
Michelin.
Michelin and McFarlane, and as in Mike and Todd, the creators of Venom, respectively. Plenty of other comic writers and artists have handled the character and its related symbiote since, but Eddie's early struggles with his other and the visual design of Venom belongs to Michelin and McFarlane, and that was something that I'd never paid attention to. What a cool Easter egg, because Todd McFarlane, the guy has to be
the Todd father.
He's so integral to Venom, so that's a very cool Easter egg.
And you know what? Todd is on a roll, because coming out next summer, him and Blumhouse, along with Jamie Foxx, is going to be putting out Spawn.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited for that.
And it's going to be, I mean, come on, Blumhouse and Fox. Really? That's going to be... Shut up and take my money right now. I'll give you my card.
Yes.
All right, last but not least, we have the final Easter egg, and I get the joy of delivering this one to you. It wouldn't be a Marvel movie related without any of our classic cameos from the king himself, Mr. Stan Lee, now downright expected by even casual fans. Now, the tone of Venom might make many fans kind of assume that Lee passed this one up, but you are wrong. And once the dark breaks, Eddie recovers and establishes some kind of peace with the symbiote. The cameo arrives as Eddie leaves Anne behind, trying to the best to hide the fact that he retained the symbiote. This is towards the end of the film. He walks right up to Stan Lee, who offers words of encouragement, saying, "That really will win Anne back." That'll really win Anne back. And so that the both of them will, and it's kind of a new level meta for Stan Lee cameo, as he's apparently able to see both Eddie and Venom.
That's pretty
interesting,
cool.
Right? So that was kind of a cool take on that one. And of course, he had his little dog there, and Venom, they were exchanging some, "I want the dog, let's eat the dog," and he's like, "No, don't eat the dog." That was kind of cool. So it was cool to see Stan Lee yet again as 96 years young in a film and as a cameo king in Venom. It is, man. He's the freaking Watcher, man.
It's awesome.
Part of me wants to think that they actually scanned Stan Lee's full body, and even if something was to happen to Stan's going to keep reprising his role. He's going to just keep... I don't want to say it because I don't even want to mention it. I mean, but anyway. Yeah. So as we're wrapping up, guys, this has been such a fun, jam-packed episode, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and you like, and you click that share button and all of that stuff. Austin, how can people find you out on the interwebs?
Well, I'm Austin Burke at the Burkinator. I'll stop talking like that. You guys can just search and find me. I'm doing YouTube stuff all the time. But we are also part of an amazing network called the Gonna Geek Network. For all things even more geeky, head over to GonnaGeek.com and check out some amazing podcasts on our home network. Also, you guys can connect with us on social media. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, and Pinterest, all at PopXcast. Send us comments and suggestions via email at popxcast@gmail.com. Also, for future and past shows, visit our official website, www.popxcast.com. And I want to thank Joseph Berg and Mike, both of you guys, for doing a great job. It's good to be back. We are in our element, and it's great.
Yes, we are, and we had a little summer hiatus. We had a lot going on the past month, so it's definitely good to be back in the seat, recording and just talking about nerdy things like we always do. And so I am Joseph Burke at Joseph Burke Arts all over the web, and of course, hats off to my amazing team PopX. I could not literally do it without you guys. Mr. Mike Ippolito, all the way up in Atlanta and parts unknown. Man, I love this. You're welcome. Yes, you're welcome, sir. And Mr. Austin Burke, all the way up in Lexington, Kentucky. I appreciate you, cuz. And so I do want to let you guys know we have a very fun Halloween episode coming up for you on October the 28th. We are going to be doing the PopX Halloween special movie special. Basically, what we're going to be doing is, I think we did one a while back, a couple years ago, where we talked about our 5 most iconic horror films of all time. Now, this time we're going to be talking about our 5 modern horror films. So we're going to be talking about films that have come out probably in the past 5 years that are just, that is iconic. And it doesn't have to be necessarily, more, it could be like comedy horror. So there's a lot of stuff that we can have on it, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be Halloween themed, so you never know what's going to happen on this special. So definitely say it's October the 28th is when we're going to be doing that on 9 o'clock. So definitely check that out as well. So Austin, are you good, my friend?
Oh man, what an episode! This was a beast.
It was pretty awesome. So thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading, and we'll see you in about 2 weeks right here on PopXcast, episode 85, the Halloween movie special. Take care. Bye-bye.
From everyone at PopXcast, thanks for listening. Please make sure to like our Facebook page, facebook.com/PopXcast, and click the follow button to get our live stream notifications. Drop us an email, popxcast@gmail.com. Be sure to check out this and more great content on the Gonna Geek Network at GonnaGeek.com. Get your geek on!